in a week, and by Northeast Men's Health, the leader in men's sexual health. And he joins us this morning on the Harbor One hotline. Hey, Bill, good morning.
Morning.
Update, if you could, on Mac Jones this morning.
Yeah, we'll take a look at him today and, see where things are. But it's always hard to do it, right after the game. We'll see what happens here in, 24 hours.
Bill, when you look at yesterday's game, you obviously talked about the turnover situation and, some decision-making that was made. After watching the film, what was the biggest thing that you took away from just some of Mac's decision-making late in that football game?
Well, just say collectively we all need to do a better job in all the games, this game, and all three games we played. We've just got to do a better job of taking care of the ball. That's everybody. The offensive line, the guys who handle the ball, coaching staff. We emphasize it a lot, but we're obviously not getting it done, and we've just got to do a better job of it all the way across the board. So I don't think it's any one thing or any. If it was one thing, that'd be easy to correct, but it's really a number of things that just come up that we just got to do a better job with.
Bill, as we wait for the MAC news or reports, when you look at Brian Hoyer and Bailey Zappe, I know teammates, both former and current, speak glowingly about Brian Hoyer and what he means to this team. How confident are you in your backups at quarterback?
Yeah, we're confident in all the players on the roster. That's why they're on the roster.
Bill, what makes it so difficult as a defense and when you're studying a guy like Lamar Jackson to be able to not only defend him against the run, but also now it seems like his decision-making, he's grown from, his first few years in the league. What's the hardest thing about defending a guy like that?
Well, they have a very good offense. He's a dynamic player. He's got a lot of speed, and he can turn short plays into long ones with his speed. Of course, he's athletic and has a strong arm and all that. But it's the entire offense. They're well balanced, and the quarterback's a hard player to stop. He's that extra guy that normally you don't have to account for, but you certainly have to account for him. And they do a good job of finding ways to stress the defense, and then it always comes down to tackling with him too. So that's leverage and tackling are also a big part of that.
Bill, when you see the type of player he is today and you look back on when he was getting drafted, could you ever imagine that this is who he would be? Did you have any indication that he would be this talented?
It's pretty much what he was in college, Louisville.
Bill, you look at the way that you guys were able to run the football. I think, with Stevenson and Harris, it seems like you guys do a good job of being able to kind of get that running game going. When you're able to look at this film and kind of see some of the things, the plays that you were able to do positive, is that one of the positive takeaways that you come away from this game is your ability to, it seems like, really run the football?
Well, there have been some good things in the running game all season. We need a little more consistency, and there are just, as always, there are little nuances, little things that come up when you're trying to execute, any type of running play. You have multiple 6, 7 blockers, however many it is, against that many defenders. Sometimes there might be one more that you have to run away from or not account for, and there are always little things to work on technique-wise and timing-wise and so forth, just because of the number of people that are involved in those plays. But overall, we've had some production. Again, just need to try to make it more consistent and avoid negative plays, and then put ourselves in a position where we can have some explosive runs like we had yesterday, where we're able to create some space in the defense, and we have good backs that can gain some yards on their own. But from a consistency standpoint, always working to improve that.
Bill, Hunter Henry was one of the focal points of your offense last year on the 10-7 team. This last 2 games, 1 catch on 2 targets. Why has he become such an afterthought in the offense?
Well, that's not the case at all. But yesterday, and we had a little bit the same thing with Pittsburgh. A lot of coverage in the middle part of the field and less coverage in the outside part of the field. So some big plays outside to Parker. Each week we're always going to pick out one guy who had less production than everybody else and say what happened to him. And meanwhile you got Parker catching, I don't know, whatever he had yesterday. I don't know, whatever it was, 150 yards. So, we've got to go to the guy that's open. We just can't throw the ball. I'm not saying that Hunter, can't get open. He can, but sometimes the coverage dictates that the ball goes to different places, and I think that's what the quarterback's got to try to do instead, just trying to jam the ball into places where it doesn't belong. That's not really what we're trying to do.
Speaking of Parker, we were talking about that interception earlier. You've seen the film. Is that on Mack when it comes to that ball being thrown, or is that on Devontae Parker?
Which play are you talking about?
In the end zone.
Yeah, it was it was obviously a bad play that didn't work out. There's a lot of things that could have been better on that. So start with just the overall, coaching, execution, and certainly the playing of it. We just didn't do a good job on the play. There were, a couple things that would have helped us had we done them a little better, but we didn't. So, that's a little bit on all of us.
Bill, you talk about the production by Devontae Parker, and you obviously talked about Hunter Henry. How do you, communicate to guys that, hey, week in and week out, your number might be called, but if it isn't, don't lose focus in the sense where, you go into the game thinking that you're not going to be productive, because we've seen that in the past where, a guy might, catch one ball in 3 weeks and then all of a sudden he catches 10 in a game. But making sure guys stay focused and not letting that situation of maybe not being involved affect them week in and week out.
Well, I think that's all part of being a skilled player. Sometimes the ball goes to different players. There's only one ball, and there's multiple skilled players on the field involved in the passing game, and in the running game, depending on what the defense is giving you. So I think all skilled players they understand that. That just as long as we're productive, then that's what really matters. And again, moving the ball yesterday wasn't really the problem. We certainly could have done better in the red area and done better on third down. But ultimately, turning the ball over 4 times is what we really have to work hard to eliminate. And as I said, do a better job on third down in the red area. But we had a lot of yardage. We moved the ball. We just didn't take care of it well enough.
Bill, little Jordan Humphrey played 54 of the snaps yesterday for the offense. I was curious what he was doing so well that he's getting him on the field so much compared to guys like Kendrick Bourne, and he even outsnapped Nelson Aguilar.
Yeah, well, again, it really is a decision on, the type of formations, the type of plays that you're running. They're running. Again, it was a lot of, loaded, heavy boxes from the Ravens, and that involves some things in the running game that he's kind of a cross between 12 personnel and 11 personnel, so it gives us a little bit of a little bit of both when he's on the field. But that being said, I think all of our receivers were productive in the roles that we asked them to be in, and as I said, we just it's really the bad plays that we've got to eliminate.
Bill, maybe your last time going up against Aaron Rodgers this week. What, in your mind, what makes him great?
Pretty much everything. He's very smart, very good athlete. He's got very good quickness and ability to avoid and escape guys in the pocket and extend plays. Really no weaknesses with the player at all. Tremendous amount of experience, game, situation management, and savvy. He's as good as there is. Glad he's in the NFC and haven't had to face him more than we have, but he's always been a problem, and looks like he's playing extremely well again, as he always does. So that'd be a big challenge for us defensively this week. Not just him, but Jones and the entire offense. It's a good offensive team. They're well coached. They have a lot of good players, and they have a great quarterback.
Bill, I know every year is different, but some years they have some familiarities. And, this year you guys are 1-2. Last year you started 1-2, and you were able to make the playoffs. Is there a message that maybe you try to carry over to this year's team saying, hey, I know it's not where we want to be, but we were there last year and we were able to overcome? Or is it just, no similarities from year to year, and you just kind of you utilize each year as its own year when you're talking to your players?
Yeah, I think every year is kind of its own year. We didn't play Green Bay last year, so I don't really know how that would apply now, but we just need to keep improving. We have improved in a lot of areas. Certainly ball security wasn't one of them yesterday, and that's a big one. So we need to keep working, keep improving, building on things that we've done better over the last 3 weeks, and improve the things that aren't good enough. That's all the way across the board. That's playing, coaching, everything we can do. We need to do it at a little bit higher level, and if we do that, then we'll see better results.
Bill, Will Fork gave a great speech at halftime. Did he address the team at all? Did he give a message either before or after?
Vince was around, for the weekend, and so we got a chance to spend some time with him. Ceremony was great. I thought he did a great job there, and it was really an honor for me to be a part of it with him. But he was around the team quite a bit. I think we all, enjoyed that, and obviously respected the great career that he had, not only as a player, but as a person, as a leader, and what he meant to the organization. So it was great for all of us that knew him, and great for the people who got to meet him for the first time and be around him for the first time to see how impressive he is.
Bill, kind of staying on Vince here, you obviously were able to coach Richard Seymour, who got inducted into the Hall of Fame this year. Vince is
can I just interrupt for 1 second? Can you clear something up, Bill? WEEI says that he told you.
I don't know if it was told.
That he recommended that you draft Richard Seymour. He takes full credit for it. Is that accurate or not? Can you just clear that up?
You're telling the story wrong.
No.
Yeah, you are.
But Bill,
I played with Seymour.
You don't need to talk.
Well, if you're going to ask him the question,
Bill,
ask it right.
Is that accurate, yes or no?
I'll let you guys get the details of the story right before I comment on that. But there was a lot of criticism on Seymour. Should have taken a receiver, and a couple of the receivers that were drafted early in that draft. But definitely happy with the Seymour pick. I think he was obviously had a great career and had a lot to do with the 3 championships we won. So Vince turned out pretty good too. So glad we we were able to get those two great people and great players.
Bill, the story was Greg was kind of misleading it. I played with Seymour and Stroud, and I remember you asking me just what I felt like about those two players because I was teammates with them at Georgia, and I had glowing things about both of them, especially Seymour. I felt like he could do a little bit more when it came to rushing the passer versus Stroud, and then we ultimately took him. So I like to feel like, you know what, maybe I had a little insight into your decision to take Seymour.
Yeah, well, definitely, and I remember we also talked about Kendrell Bell because he was in that draft class as well, and he had a not as long of a career, but he was a very good player too. So that whole defense, if I remember right, that entire defense, I think they were all in the NFL. I think most of them were drafted. Maybe 9 of them were drafted in the years that they in their draft class, not all in that 01 draft, but in the subsequent years. So those are some great defensive players down there. As you know, and you identified it, Richard didn't have a lot of pass rush production in college. I think he only had a sack or something like that in his entire career. But as we've seen, he had a lot of pass rush ability and certainly developed that and became one of the top rushers in the league once he got into the NFL. So sometimes those things don't show up as much in college for one reason or another, not necessarily the player. Sometimes it's a scheme or some other reason. But his pass rush skills were definitely, noted those, and you noted them with Stroud too. And they were both great players. We always had a hard time blocking Stroud, and everybody had a hard time blocking Seymour too.
You can probably help me with something when it comes to the radio show. When you were in a conversation like that with Wiggy, how would you get out of it? How would you end it?
Thank him for his opinion.
No, but then when he keeps going on and on and on, would you just say like, all right, I got to run, I have a meeting, or like, how would that work?
Yeah, I mean, he never did that. Hey, talk radio is talk radio, but Wiggy's great. You ask him a question, he'll give you an answer, and tell you what he knows or what he observed, or help however he can. So that was pretty common. Guys that had played with other players that we were considering in the draft at schools like that. Georgia, where they have multiple players coming out every year in the draft, and somebody that was on that team with them that can give you some insight into the player and how they think that person and player would fit in our organization. I mean, that's always good information to have.
All right, Bill.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, that was nice, Wiggy.
We will let you get to work and to start to get ready for the Packers.
All right, sounds good. Thanks. See you next week.
All right, there he is, Bill Belichick. We'll see if what do you?
Courtney, did he kind of like